Hello friends, I don't know what's going on with my hair. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. This is my first week after my job transition, so I'm just kind of trying to figure out how reading is fitting into all of the new responsibilities that I have at work, plus, you know, reading and making content. So this is the product of that. I don't really know what it looks like. I haven't started editing it yet. I'm fearful that it's going to be a mess, but I'm hoping it's not. I did manage to read 2.5 books in this vlog. So when we started this vlog, I started out reading Glint, and then I was about 100 pages into Fear the Flame, but I kind of started not over, but almost over with this book and read it. And then I read Fantasma. So let's jump into last Sunday when I started Glint. Hi friends, I think I'm back in the reading groove. Last week was rough, and so I just did not read. To be fair, I was listening to my reread of The Raven Boys, because I am doing a spoiler rereading vlog of rereading the Raven Boys series, but I'm just taking it really slowly. I did listen to that last week because I just needed comfort things. So I was watching comfort YouTubers and listening to a comfort book, and that helped me a lot. And I spent Sunday, Monday doing things that I needed to catch up on. I hung out with my patrons on some reading sprints. I got some chores done. I read almost this whole book, Glint, which I'll talk about in a second. It just started to make me feel really normal again, and maybe I can balance all of the things and all of my new responsibilities alongside of booktube. I'm just so scared that my life is gonna become about a job. That's just not me, right? I know some people their career is their life, it's their passion, it's a thing that they do, they live, they breathe, and that's just never been me. I always thought that maybe it would, but as I've gotten older, it's definitely just not who I am. I like working, I like having the social component and the whole schedule of a job because it really helps me stay structured and makes me feel a little more sane. But the idea of making a career my life has just never been what I want. I need my own passions in life. I love reading, I love drawing and journaling, I love making YouTube content. It's just something that I absolutely love, and I've been so scared to lose that part of my life to a job. And so right now, with the more responsibilities that I have, I'm just very nervous. I'm still nervous about it. I'm feeling better about it today because I felt like it was a good week overall, and I ended up getting in things that I wanted to, but I'm just nervous. So this vlog is me trying to get life to feel normal again, I guess. Anyway, I started Glint. I actually started it last night, but I didn't get too far, and then I've been reading it for most of the day today. And I am now on chapter 25, which is 259 pages, and I'm having a grand old time, I can't lie. So I'm gonna give you a quick update, and then I will give you my full thoughts when I finish a little bit later tonight. But overall, I'm having a really good time. Our main character does frustrate me on one hand, but on the other hand, she's very much a victim. She's very much starting to realize the circumstances in which she has been forced into, and I think that I'm enjoying her kind of figuring that out. While I wish it were a little bit faster, I do understand how we're slowly getting to the point where she's starting to realize what has been happening to her over the years and how that's affecting her decisions today and her relationships with some of the other people that we're meeting. Speaking of other characters, we have been introduced to, I think 3 or 4 new characters in here that I absolutely love. We may have met them in the first book, but we are really getting to know them now, and they're standing out to me more now than if we did meet them in the first book. And I particularly love 2 of the new characters. This is also making me really excited because I love a book that has found family for sure, and I don't know if this is going to become found family, but beyond that, I love a book that has well fleshed out side characters that you fall in love with just as much as you love the main character. I also think this is really helpful in the case of a character that's a little bit frustrating, because I want to really like Oren, and I do from time to time, but I mainly have been enjoying the side characters the most. We're also getting to know who I presume is the love interest. Although I'm a little unsure of who Endgame is, I'm pretty sure the love interest is a particular character that we've spent some time with in book 1 and we're spending a lot of time with in book 2. It only makes sense to me, but I don't really know. What if she throws a wrench in things and it becomes a throuple? A girl can dream. I'm also really enjoying the narrative of this one because we are having dual POV. There is another POV in here, and I'm obsessed with this POV because I'm not gonna lie, this new POV, I want her to burn the world down. Can't lie to you. I kind of love her. I kind of do. And then we're also getting chapters from the past, like Oren's past, of meeting Midas and like her situations with Midas when she's a little bit naive about who he is and like who he's turning into. So I'm appreciating the structure a lot in this. So I'm gonna finish editing a video and then I'm going to finish this and I'll give you my updates once I finish. We need to talk. We need to talk about Bridgerton. We also need to talk about the fact that I just re-upped my Hulu subscription, and you bet that I'm gonna be starting The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives as soon as I can, as soon as humanly possible, because just the things that I've seen, the discussions being had, it seems unhinged and I really need that in my life. But anyway, back to Bridgerton. I finished the 3rd season. I finally finished the 3rd season. My patrons and I, we've been literally watching it for the last 3 or 4 months. Every Sunday we did like 2 episodes. It was a really nice way to watch the show, actually. I was very much looking forward to Sunday mornings and getting to watch Bridgerton and just like order myself a coffee and make it a whole thing. It was very nice. I hope that we find another show that we do that for, but also cannot wait for season 4 where we revamp our Bridgerton watch along. But season 3, I ended up really liking this. I think the last 3 episodes kind of saved this season for me. Not that I was not liking the season. There was just something slightly missing in the middle couple of episodes for me. I really liked the beginning episodes, and then the middle couple of episodes, something was sort of missing for me. Also, there's this whole tension there with the specific plot line that was like, I just needed it to be out in the open. And once it does get revealed, I was like, okay, here we go. And it brought the drama and it brought some resolutions that I really wanted. And I ended up really loving Colin and Penelope. Colin was not my favorite throughout the series so far, but I definitely agree with Aaron in the fact that this was a more satisfying conclusion of them like being together, because we have seen their friendship through the last 3 seasons. So to finally see them actually come together and how that story unfolds, and like see Penelope come into her own, and like the way her relationship with her sisters and her mother changes, and the way that she develops this different relationship with herself also is just really lovely. I'm obsessed with Lady Bridgerton and Lady Danbury. I can't get enough of those two. A lot of the interactions between them and other people always make me cry. Also, there were some hints at relationships potentially unfolding in different seasons that I'm literally getting chills right now. You're not gonna be able to see that. I'm getting chills right now because I am so excited. I can't wait to see certain things unfold in future seasons. I now feel everyone's pain because I don't want to wait for season 4. I just want to watch it. I just want to see what's gonna happen. Also, I am not an Anthony stan, okay? Even by the end of season 2, I barely started to like him and enjoy him as a character. I was happy to get like information about him that we didn't have before that made him a more well-rounded character, but from the start, I have not liked Anthony very much. I do like Kate. Season 2 was actually my least favorite season of the 3 seasons, particularly because of how things unfold in that season. I wasn't expecting it to go as far as it did. I had trouble with that season. Still enjoyed it, especially side stories. That being said, you get to see a lot of Anthony and Kate in this storyline and like how their relationship is progressing. Did I just fall in love with both of them all over again? Yeah, well, I guess Anthony for the first time, because was never really a big fan of that man. But in the 3rd season, loved him so much. And Kate's just Kate, you know, she's beautiful, she's lovely, she can do no wrong. I love a man who's just obsessed with his partner. Okay, anyway, back to the plot of this video. Glint, I finished it. I finally finished it, and I want to give you a quick synopsis of this and then give you my overall feelings about this book. So Glint is the 2nd book in the Plated Prisoner series, Guild being the 1st book in the series. And in Guild, we're introduced to our main character, Oren, And the thing that we know about Oren is she has been a prisoner for the last 10 years to King Midas. King Midas, if you don't know anything about King Midas, he is the king that is legend to turn anything gold that he touches. And he also has turned our main character Oren gold. 10 years ago, she approached Midas to be a prisoner in exchange for his protection. So this sentence of her being imprisoned by him is basically a way for her to feel protected. She spent many years prior to meeting Midas being used and abused, and we slowly are kind of getting to know her past. Even in the second book, we're getting to know a lot of her past before Midas came around and why she ends up approaching him to ask for protection. One of the things that I think kind of remains a mystery until the end of this book is like why he agrees to protect her. I think that is probably one of the most intriguing aspects to this book, is because we know that she approached him wanting this protection. And in theory, the idea is that she is now gold touched by him. She's his favorite concubine. And so you think that that's like the reason behind it. But we do actually get to find out in the end of the second book why he agrees to this beyond the things we kind of already know. And I thought that was a good twist. I thought it was a very good twist. The other important thing to know in the first book is that Oren has never had any reason to doubt Midas, to not trust him, to not trust that he will protect her, until a situation unfolds in the first book that makes her question everything that she's ever believed about him, everything she's ever believed about the protection he's providing. And this ends up resulting in her kind of being a pawn in his game, which goes very backwards for him. And so in the second book, we are still seeing the aftermath of that, because the first book very much reads like a prequel book. As a matter of fact, I feel like the first and second book probably should have just been one book. These read so quickly and they are very short. I know this is supposed to be about 400 pages, which seems like a long book, but the formatting is done in such a weird way that this reads so much faster than it seems that it would. And so I do feel like the first two books should have been one book. They feel like one book. I almost recommend maybe reading them back to back, or just reading the whole series back to back, because this is very compulsively readable and they always end on a cliffhanger. They always end on a cliffhanger. What's up with the fantasy romance and always ending on cliffhangers? So yeah, this basically picks up exactly where we left off in the first book. Our main character, Oren, is starting to shift her way of thinking about the world. She has a very particular way of thinking, especially in the first book, but as things are being presented to her and as the world is being presented to her in a different way, she's definitely rethinking the past. She's rethinking things that Midas told her. She's rethinking the way that she has always seen the world and believed things to be. And that's actually one of my favorite fantasy tropes. And I don't even know if it's a trope, but it's one of those things that often happens in fantasy that I really love, is when a character believes the world or a political system or a person is one way, and they are steadfast in that belief and that ideology, and then they are presented with something that completely shatters their world, and they have to start rethinking things and reevaluating the world around them and how they want to navigate that. It just feels so real, and I often think that when authors use this trope or this type of narrative structure, it usually leads to a really great character arc where characters are faced with things that completely change them, and we get to see a character that is so vastly different from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And I just think we are seeing inklings of that happening with Oren, and I really do think that she's going to have a wonderful character arc. And if nothing else, I think that we are going to have a lot of fun moments with our side characters and getting to know the love interest in here, who I really like. I really do love this love interest. I'm curious if we are going to end up getting a POV from him, because another shift within this book that wasn't in the first book, which it was such a short first book, I don't know how it would have been, is that we are getting new POVs. Technically it's one POV, but we also get a narrative shift. So sometimes when Oren is reflecting on the past, it then shifts into a chapter where we are going into the past and reflecting and seeing that moment through her eyes. So honestly, I had a really great time with this. I also my reading experience was so great with this one because of where my head has been at with life and stuff. I was literally just listening to this and vibing. I wasn't trying to guess anything. I was just reading. I was vibing, and the plot twists really got me in this one. There was only one plot twist that I saw coming from the first page of book 1, but otherwise the other plot twists within this book really got me. Some of the reveals in here were so fun. I was having a great time in the last like 15% of this book. As a matter of fact, I was actually just having a fun time and vibing throughout the entirety of this book. I don't think there was a moment where I was like, ooh, this is getting boring, let's move along. I was just vibing and having a good old time. I will say though, I may have said it yesterday, Raven Kennedy has never met a metaphor she did not like and wasn't willing to use. She's willing to use them all. So yeah, I actually have Gleam ready to go. I have it ready to go. I'm definitely gonna try to listen to this sometime this week. I don't know if it's going to be right now because Aaron and I are buddy reading Fantasma, so I'm going to focus on that one, and then I'm either going to decide to continue on with Fear the Flames or if I'm going to start Gleam, which is also very dependent on if Robin wants to continue with Gleam because we have been buddy reading this series together. So if she is ready, then I'll probably just jump into Gleam. If not, then I will continue on with Fear the Flames.
First time we met face to face, kiss on my neck, how could I forget something that hasn't happened yet? I'm wasting my time, losing my mind over all this wasted time. I know I'm impatient, but baby, give me a chance. I'll do whatever you say.
I'm getting ready for bed at 8 p.m. because it's been a long week and I want to go rot in bed.
Any more tears you turn into all my fears. I want you here with me. I want you here with me. I remember the first time I heard your voice, holding my hand. How could I feel your touch? 'Cause you were nowhere near.
Hello, I'm on a quick work break and it is hot. It is hot today. It cooled off and now it's back to the 90s, so this sucks. Happy fall, I guess. I've started Fantasma. Aaron and I are buddy reading it. We are trying to keep pace with each other at this point, and so I've just hit chapter 13, which is caught up with Aaron. This whole premise is very intriguing to me because we have a main character named Ophelia and her mother is a necromancer, and at the very beginning her mother passes away, so she is having to basically pick up the pieces and take on her mother's legacy as a necromancer. But Ophelia's sister is like anti any of this happening. She doesn't want Ophelia to be tied to her family's legacy of necromancy. And as a matter of fact, we quickly find out that her mother was struggling financially and took out a bunch of loans. And so now their home, which has been, I'm guessing it's been their home for a very long time. The timeline, the time frame of this story is eluding me a little bit. It's not very concrete, but we do know that the girls are between like 23 and 25 years old. But yeah, we quickly find out that her mother was not doing well financially, and so she took out a bunch of these loans. But we also find out that her sister has forged some documents and some checks, which have also resulted in them getting in trouble. But her sister, again, is so anti any of this legacy that she's like, Ophelia, let's just leave it behind. Let them take possession of this house. Let's move on with our lives. And Ophelia's like, no, this is my duty. I'm going to do it. So they get into a really big argument about that. The sister just kind of vanishes, and Ophelia believes that she went to this place called Fantasma. And so Fantasma happens to be like a series of trials, I guess you could say, where you're trying to survive. So Ophelia is like, I need to find my sister. I'm gonna enter into these trials. She actually has no idea if her sister really is there, but she entered anyway. And in the midst of going to Fantasma, she ends up talking to this man, and she's kind of attracted to him. He calls her Angel. angel, and I'm pretty sure this is our love interest, and I'm pretty sure he's a ghost. So on chapter 13, we're like finding out a bit more about him. We're finding out a bit more about how Fantasma works, and I'm having a pretty good time. I'm having a pretty good time, but I do think Ophelia is a little bit stupid sometimes. But you know, I love a stupid character. I do. And Aaron thinks that should be studied. And maybe it should. Anyway, I'm gonna head back to work because it's hot as sin out here. It's the devil's butthole. So I will talk to you all a little bit later. It's almost dinner time for the cat, so you are definitely gonna hear them in the background. So hi. If you follow me on Goodreads, this is not gonna be shocking, but I DNF'd Fantasma, and I'm just as shocked as you are because my first update was fairly positive. I was enjoying the beginning portion of this, but then I hit the 36% mark, which is where I DNF'd. After conferring with Aaron, who was buddy reading it with me, and then looking at some reviews, it kind of pinpointed what wasn't working for me. But first and foremost, I did want to say that I highly enjoyed the OCD representation, simply because it is just there, like it exists. And I love normalizing when characters have things like OCD or autism or depression or anxiety in fantasy and in contemporary. Like I love when it's normalized. It just existed in the book. It's not the whole purpose of the book. It obviously plays a really big part for our character because she's dealing with it and she's kind of talking about it happening and existing, but it's not like the crux of the story. There's definitely a whole other story being told here that's not just about our character having OCD. So I really appreciated that. Her OCD isn't exactly how mine manifests, so it was relatable to some degree, but it wasn't completely relatable for me. But I really love the people who've been talking about how it really is spot on to what they've experienced, and so they feel very seen in the story. And I just want to give the book credit for that because I've read many books that either I didn't know had OCD representation or I picked it up for the OCD representation and have just been left feeling really sad and disappointed by how it's been portrayed. I also think that this world is fairly interesting. Like I really did enjoy the fact that she's a necromancer, that the love interest is a phantom / ghost. Like I do really love that, and I was very much intrigued by the fact that this has trials in it. The unfortunate part for me, and the reason I DNF'd it, is because 36% into the book, this was reminding me a lot of One Dark Window, which is another book that I DNF'd. I didn't really enjoy the world building or the magic system, and that was simply because it didn't make sense. And I feel like, for me personally, this magic system and world building did not make sense for what is being presented. Like it didn't fully feel fleshed out, it didn't fully feel realized, or that the characters even knew what their motivations were, or that the trials were even that well fleshed out, or that they had a purpose that was understandable. Like sure, there is an overarching purpose to it, but like every time we would do a trial, it was so lackluster, and I would kind of sit there and be like, wait, is this the whole trial? Like, what are we doing? This is also a very claustrophobic story. It kind of takes place in one like singular area, and it does feel very claustrophobic. We have a lot of repetitive moments where it's like our main character talking to the Phantom and her like flirting and having banter, and then like him kind of trying to help her through these trials, and then the trial happening, and it's almost like a nothing sandwich. I don't know, it just, they didn't seem well realized, they didn't seem well constructed, or that they were even that high of stakes, which is wild because they're supposed to be going through like the 9 circles of hell, and I just thought it would be a little bit more scary. Something I did learn about myself though, which was very surprising because I am a contemporary romance lover. I like when something is romance focused. What I have noticed though is I struggle with that in fantasy romances when there is supposed to be like these big things happening in the background, like a trial, an actual developed magic system, but we don't get it well enough developed because there's so much focus on the couple the whole time. And obviously the romance is going to be the forefront, like it's the point of the story. But in fantasy romance, for me, I like the perfect blend of fantasy, world building, magic systems, and romance, the development of these characters falling in love with each other. I really like that perfect blend, and this is definitely more like lusty and romance focused than it is worried about the plot. And I think maybe this is where I also struggle, and maybe I could have gotten behind this had I really cared about our main characters. I feel like, is her name Ophelia? I feel like her name is Ophelia. I can't even remember at this point. That's how memorable she is to me. The Phantom was interesting. I don't know, okay? It was just very lusty. I just got lost with this one and I wasn't having a good time. And that's all it really comes down to. I just wasn't having a good time and I wasn't connected to anything in this book. So I just decided to DNF it and move on with my life and start Fear the Flames. Well, I had already started Fear the Flames at the beginning of this vlog. I started it like a week or so ago, and then I put it down not for any reason except for like life, just started lifing. And I've been meaning to get back to it, but I don't know how much I'm gonna remember of what I read. So I'm gonna try to dive back into it, but if I don't remember, I'm just gonna restart it. Okay, I'm gonna go feed these heathens. And hopefully I'll read tonight, hopefully, or I'll just fall asleep immediately. Hi friends, don't mind my greased up face. I got home, I ate a very quick meal, and then I took a shower and got ready for bed. So my face is all slugged up, ready to slip into bed and read more of Fear the Flames. I'm now at page 123, chapter 18. I thought I was already here for some reason, but I did start some of the book over because wherever I hopped back into the story, I wasn't really remembering everything that was happening. So I kind of went back a few chapters to figure out what was going on. So maybe I went further back chapter-wise than I thought that I did. Suffice it to say, I am now actually on page 123. And I'm having a really good time. I'm actually very much having a good time. The premise of this was already very intriguing to me because dragons, hello. But also I really love the classic princess in hiding, forced proximity. But I don't know, these two have just been making me squeal. They've been making me kick my feet and twirl my hair. I'm having a fun time with their banter. I think the banter is done really well. Every time they have a little bit of rapport, I'm like, okay, yes. Continue doing that. Continue doing that. But we just got this scene, if you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to spoil it, but we did just get a scene, like a bathtub scene. Not sexual, actually. Despite me saying that out loud and it feeling very wrong to say that, it was a very specific scene that I'm not going to give spoilers for. But I enjoyed that scene a lot because there was a lot of tension for many reasons. But there was also this like, I'll take care of you, I respect you type of moment. And I think this is going to be the start of something new. So to get to the point and give you the synopsis of this book. So this is single POV following our main character, who is the princess in hiding. Her name is Eowyn, and when she was younger, she was gifted 3 dragons, and her bond to those dragons was very, very strong. So much so that it caused this weird shift within her father. And her father decides that Eowyn and her dragons are a danger to his kingdom. So he imprisons her and takes away her dragons. She escapes with the help of her uncle, who then leaves with her to this other kingdom, but this kingdom isn't quite established yet. But through the years and through the help of her uncles, she ends up kind of establishing this secret kingdom and becoming the queen of this kingdom. Everyone in this kingdom knows who she is, and everyone respects the fact that she is in hiding and that her father pretty much is known as a mad king at this point in time. So we meet Eowyn many years later, and she's hell-bent on revenge and getting her dragons back. So she has a grand plan of taking down her father and getting her dragons. She has this rare opportunity and run-in with Caden. And Caden is the commander of Veriveth, which is this other kingdom, and he pointedly tries to find her because he does know her identity. How, we don't know yet, but he does know her identity. He is trying to find her. So this seemingly random opportunity that presents itself to her is not random at all. He does seek her out. And he basically strikes a bargain with her. And it's not really a bargain because in some ways they have the same want. They have the same end goal. And it's to take down her father's kingdom. And so she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this with you. Despite the fact that you're the most dangerous and feared man, I'm trying to get my dragons back. So she takes this bargain, and where I'm at in the book, they're basically venturing through other kingdoms, trying to rally people. I really love the little synopsis that's supposed to get your attention where it says, an exiled princess teams up with the last man she thought she could trust in the start of a dazzling and unforgettable epic fantasy romance series. So I have to assume that in this book we do get to the point where she gets her dragons back, because all I have heard from the edits of this book is that there's even more dragons. So I'm very curious like how quickly they're going to be able to get her dragons back. Like what kind of role are they going to play in the book? Like what does it mean that we get a lot of dragons? Because this is a singular POV book from my understanding. And so I'm just curious, like, is it going to be Fourth Wing style where we get a lot of the dragons? Or is it going to be something like Game of Thrones with Daenerys? You know what I mean? Because that's really what it's giving, is Game of Thrones. Like she's going to get her dragons back. She's going to become this badass queen with her 3 dragons. Like I love the idea of this. I'm just very curious about where it's all gonna go. So I'm gonna lay in bed and I'm gonna figure that out.
Take a train ride just to see you. Ride for hours just to please you. You don't know how much I need you, 'cause you're my home away from home, away from home, away from.
Oh my gosh, hi, good morning. Welcome to my dirty car. Also just welcome to car vlogging, because that's a thing that I've been doing. I'm definitely gonna be late for work, but I had to update because I started Fear the Flames last night, and then I was listening to it this morning as I was getting ready and on my way here, and I'm actually really liking this. I did not read the indie published version of this, but this version, great. Having a good time. I really like the audiobook narrator as well, because of course I've been listening to it on audiobook. But I'm really enjoying this because I like the characters. Like our main character, she is a long lost princess and she has a best friend named Phineas, and they have like a really great rapport, and I just love that they are platonic best friends. And I just love seeing a platonic female-male friendship, and it's not weird and it's not like implied that they're ever gonna get together or want to get together. And then we have a love interest named Caden, and he's like this big bad because he's supposed to be this general, I don't know what his title is, but their banter is also hilarious. And there was like a whole moment right now, which is why I wanted to update, where they realized that their rooms share a balcony, and he makes a comment about making her scream, and she was like, you're never gonna get close enough to me to make me scream, and he goes, we'll see about that. I think today is gonna be a really great listening day at work. I think I'm gonna have a really good time. Also, this book is so much shorter than I thought it was gonna be, so I'm a little sad about that because I don't even know when the second book is gonna come out, but I'm having a great time. I'm having a very good time.
It's probably best to say the things you really feel out loud, but babe, if you believe it, say it like you mean it. I hope I make them proud. If every younger version of myself could see me now. Didn't mean to wake you, just go back to sleep. Been telling secrets I was supposed to keep. But you are a folktale, I'm a believer. You are a pipe dream, I am a dreamer. You are a phone call, I'm a receiver. You are a sickness, and I've got a fever.
I keep wearing my little librarian cardigan because it's always freezing in the library and I forget to grab another one, and this is the one that's in my car. Also, I like it. It reminds me of fall. Anyway, I'm here to update you because I'm tired and I'm at work, and my goal today is to actually finish Fear the Flames while at work, because I do have some downtime to like do other things where I could listen to an audiobook and, you know, do the work that I need to do. I'm really hoping that I can do that today. Also, I don't know if I updated yesterday, but I made myself a matcha before work, and I just haven't had the time recently to do it because I'm like always running late because I'm tired and I keep sleeping in. So anyway, I took the time to make myself a matcha yesterday and today. Yesterday's matcha tasted like butt. I don't know what I did. You know when you make a drink and you're like, damn, this is gonna be a banger, and then it tastes horrible? That's what happened to me. But this one tastes very good. Anyway, this is a useless update. I just really wanted to say hi. I just wanted to say hey. It's so funny to think that like vlogging keeps me grounded. I like miss it when I'm not doing it a lot. And so this is just me saying, hey, love ya, miss ya. Finally finished Fear the Flames last night. This took me way longer to read than I expected, simply because, well, it's short. And I don't know, I flew through Glint this week, so I thought that I would fly through this one because I was really, really enjoying it. And I still enjoyed it till the very end, but I did hit a point in this book where it was lulling for me. The whole point of this book, this first book anyway, is to get her dragons back, to get our main character's dragons back. As we know, when she was younger, her father ripped her dragons away from her, exiled her to a prison, and she ended up escaping and running away. So now this whole beginning portion of the journey that she's taking to take down her father is to find and reconnect with her dragons. Along the way, she makes a deal with Caden, and his whole position within this revenge plot is that he's going to help her take down her father because it would benefit his kingdom. So that's kind of how they make their alliance, and that really is the crux of this book. This one is also very romance forward. I would say that probably moving forward there's going to be a good balance of world building and romance, but in this one, the whole plot, the whole crux of it all is her getting to her dragons. And so they're traveling, and there's assassins, and there's some political maneuvering, but in reality, it's just the setup of them kind of falling for each other in this like forced proximity situation of traveling. So yeah, it's very romance forward. I really like them. It didn't really bother me as much as like say Fantasma, where the romance is kind of the forefront of it all, even though I know it's a fantasy romance. I'm just saying I really do like the blend of a good plot, good magic system, and romance. I think that this does balance it well because we know the purpose of this first book, and so with Fantasma it's a little bit different for me, but also I was very invested in this couple. Like, I'm very invested in them. I like their banter. I like the way they talk to each other. I like the way they interact with each other. I like the chemistry that they have. And so when we get moments with them that are like, there's a lot of sex scenes in here for it being the first book. There are quite a few sex scenes in here. I think as a slow burn lover, I would have been bothered had I not already been extremely invested in this couple and just really loving their banter. So yeah, I'm learning a lot about myself and my fantasy romance tastes, because sometimes I think that I have very specific tropes and stuff that I like or don't like, and then I'll pick up something like this where Fantasma and this were both very romance forward, and it has less to do with the plot and the politics and the magic system than it does the romance. And I didn't really love Fantasma. Obviously, there were a lot of different reasons for that, but Fantasma was kind of the catalyst of me realizing that like, oh, I like a good mix of the romance, the plot, the magic system, whatever. And then I read something like this where like it does have a good mix, but it is more romance forward than anything else. Do you know what I mean? I know I'm not making sense because it's like fantasy romance. Obviously it's supposed to be romance forward. That's the point. But there are some fantasy romances where like the politics, the world building, the magic system, it all makes sense and it all like is explained well and balanced really well with the romance. And I'm always expecting a little more banter between characters and love interests and a little more like flirting and maybe stolen kisses and maybe sex scenes or whatever. I'm expecting that. But a lot of what I love usually is like slow burn. And so we do get a lot of the plot and the world building. There are dragons, but there are less dragons than I anticipated. So I'm so curious when the author said there's even more dragons in here, what she meant, because there were not a lot of dragons in here. We do get some, which I was excited about. I am gonna move forward with the series because I really enjoyed this first installment and I'm so curious about where this is gonna go. Like, where is this gonna go with the dragons? What is this revenge plot gonna look like? There were some twists and turns at the end that I didn't fully see coming, so I am excited to see where this goes. When is the second one gonna be published? I don't know, hopefully a year from now, but I'll probably end up rereading it whenever that comes around. But overall, very much had a good time, even with some of the pacing issues that I had around the 60 to 80% mark. It just felt very repetitive, I guess was the issue that I was having. There was a lot of the same things happening, a lot of the same conversations happening, a lot of the same plot points kind of being reused. Like, we get it, you know, we get that you're trying to take down your father and get your dragon, like we know. Oh, the other thing, speaking of the characters, I really loved all of the characters in here for the most part. There were some background characters that I didn't care too much about or were very forgettable for me, but I really love our two main characters because they are stabby. They are stabby. They are arguably morally gray, like they don't really care about killing people. Like they kind of relish in the fact of killing people. So I thought that was kind of fun. I also loved the banter, like I said. I think they're really funny, but they also have really good banter with other characters. Like I said in another update, our main character has a male best friend and it's platonic and I love it. And I love their banter and I love the way that they protect each other. So I just really like the character dynamics and we get introduced to different characters along the way that become really fun side characters. And if anything is gonna get me to love a story, it's well fleshed out or like fun side characters with a lot of banter. So this vlog was really fun because I feel like I learned a lot about my reading taste with fantasy romance. I have been reading fantasy romance, like a lot of fantasy romance over the last year, and I just continue to keep learning about tropes and stuff that I love. I kind of just love the fact that as I keep reading, even in genres that I'm like extremely familiar with, I'm always finding new things to love or things that I don't really love. And it's really exciting to work that out with you all on camera when I don't make sense with what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So it's a great time. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, friends. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, if you've enjoyed them. Also, what are you doing at the start of the autumn season? Are there any festivities that you're gonna be taking part in? I'm going apple picking next week, which you will see because I am about to start another vlog, but I'd love to know if you have any like traditions for the Halloween season or the fall season, like what you do, what you try to do every single year. I would love to know. And if you'd like to just say hi and leave an emoji down below, feel free to leave a dragon emoji down below, and I will talk to y'all next time. Bye, friends.